Hey friends, happy Monday, 16th of August, 20th week of Ordinary Time. I think it's the last day of summer vacation for public school students in Sweetwater County School District number 1. Maybe we've got some parents doing a bit of a fist pump. Not a bad thing to keep, students and teachers and faculty and staff and families and parents in our prayers in these days as we enter into a new school year. Hey, one request, this is hard for me because at the heart of it, I'm a parish priest and not an online internet personality. But if you're on YouTube, if you wanted to like and share these videos, that does help to spread word of mouth. And there might be some other people who would benefit from a little bit of time spending in reflecting on the scriptures. If you're on YouTube, if you wanted to upvote or subscribe to our channel, that also helps with the algorithm. I'll make that announcement all this week. It'll be awkward for me every single day. All right, I'll give you a reflection. There is a link to the daily readings in the sidebar. If you haven't read the readings, click that link, prayerfully read the readings, and then turn off the screen. Spend some time, prayerful reflection before you move on to other parts of your day. We are 4 days this week in the book of Judges. And so last week we would have switched out of the 5 books of the law when we spent a little bit of time with Joshua. We're still in kind of what are considered the books of history, trying to understand the origins and the story of Israel. Like I say, now we're in the book of Judges. This passage in particular kind of sets up this time period. And so it's after the time of Joshua. And so we had the stories of the patriarchs, and then we had the stories of the desert wanderings. But of course, the importance or the leadership of the desert wanderings, who is the leader of the people? Moses. And then after Moses, then Joshua becomes the leader of the people. Who after Joshua? That's the time period that we're going to be in. It's going to be really brief. But we're in the period of the Judges, from the end of Joshua until the coming of the kingdom and the kings and that sort of leadership. We hear, so the people are on the land, right? That's the end of Joshua. The people are on the land. They're organized loosely in tribal confederations. And that has the advantage of independence and autonomy. It has the disadvantage, though, that there's no centralized leadership. And especially there's no strong power to protect them from aggressive neighbors. And so we hear the challenge of this time frame in the first reading today. We also have the religious editors who tell us that God is frankly punishing the people in some ways. And so this is a painful and difficult period for Israel. And occasionally there would rise up charismatic leadership who would unify a tribe or a couple of tribes to deal with a regional, localized problem. And then when the judges die, then the people kind of regress back to the old ways. I hope that this isn't, too hyper current, but I do hear a little bit of this idea of judges rising up, voices that the people listen to in our own experience of what's gone on with our information revolution, our technology revolution of the last 15 years. The institutions are generally perceived to have let us down. We don't have a strong institutional voice that can unite us as a people. And so instead, many of us are listening to a variety of different voices, charismatic figures who are raised up in a variety of different fields and address an area or another, but without addressing maybe the unified whole. I'm just going to kind of hold that up as a mirror for how I hear this story of the book of Judges and the setup for Judges, and just maybe hold it to say that this might be exactly the spot where we are, and maybe the place where God wants us to be. The question maybe that I would pose off of that first reading is, what voices are we intentionally listening to? And of course, sometimes we can slide into letting people influence us more than we want to. But what voices are we intentionally listening to? And is that drawing us into deeper life, the well springs of abundant life, the grace that's been offered to us by God? Maybe a place of reflection there. One word about the gospel. We have the story of the rich young man. right? He keeps all the commandments of God from his youth. And so then Jesus invites him to perfection. Don't worry about material stuff. Sell all that you have, give it to the poor, then come and be my disciple. The young man goes away sad because he had many possessions. What keeps us from following after God? And may not be sin, right? It may be the gift of creation, the goodness of this world that makes it really hard for us to really keep God first in our lives. What's a stumbling block for us? Or perhaps another way to pray for this is to ask what happens next with this young man who has many possessions, who goes away sad. Maybe to picture the scene and use that prayer of the imagination. Does he go and enjoy possessions? Does he experience the challenge of the call of Jesus and sell everything that he owns, gives it to the poor? Does he walk away, forever changed by his encounter with this wisdom figure, mindful of how owned by his own possessions he is? Maybe you spend a little bit of time praying with this young man who went away sad for he had many possessions. See what the Spirit wants to do in your own life today. All right, happy Monday. Again, be praying, please, for everybody involved in education these days. Let's be praying for people that suffer, that struggle. Read those readings prayerfully. Just turn off the screen, spend some time in prayer. And, upvote and like and subscribe and share. It does help other people to know what we're doing. All right, God bless. Let's be praying, friends.